Hi class, we are now on chapter 6. I just completely skipped 6.1. We're jumping to 6.2 and even this one is very short. So we're going to look at counting by weighing, nails by the pound. We're going to start getting into math and calculations. So these are some examples to get you started into understanding how we're going to do this. So some hardware stores sell nails by the pound, which is easier than selling them nail by nail if you need a lot of them. This problem is similar to asking how many atoms are given in a mass of an element. Because there's so many, it's not easy unless you want to use really large numbers. So we are going to use something called a mole, which we haven't really brought up yet. But this is very similar to something as a dozen. When you hear dozen, you automatically know it's 12. That's how we're going to start looking at chemistry. We're going to use some weird words that mean a certain value. So a customer buys 2.6 pounds of medium-sized nails, and a dozen of these nails weigh 0.150 pounds. How many nails did the customer buy? And so now we need a conversion, and this is exactly matching what we're going to start doing in chemistry. So we need a conversion, and the conversion is one dozen nails. Yes, 1 dozen of these nails is equivalent to 0.150 pounds of the nails. But we also have a dozen, and 1 dozen means exactly 12 nails. So we have enough here that we can put this together to determine out of that 2.6 pounds of nails, how many nails were in this. So we set it up with the value that's been given to us to start with here. Now we cancel out everything until we end up with the correct volume. So what this means is that when we want to get rid of something that we don't want this unit anymore, it has to go on the bottom. In this case, as I'm teaching you now, this will change as we go on. But the unit that we want to get rid of is here. The unit we want to end up with here is here. Somehow we need to get from stepping stones from this to this. So what we do is anything that's on top, we have, so this is kind of like saying this is over 1. If you have to do it in fraction or ratio form. We want that unit that we want to get rid of here, because then when we use a conversion, now we're in dozens, but we still don't want dozens either. We want to get rid of dozens, but we want just nails. So this is showing a stepping stone of how to do that in the conversions in between where the arrows are. And if we do this right, the units will cancel out, leaving us with the correct unit, but we also have to pay attention to sig figs. So in this case, we do the math. Cancel out the units. Those units are gone. These units are gone. We end up exactly with nails, which is what the problem is asking for. So we end up with 208 nails for 2.6 pounds of those nails. Now, sig figs are 3 sig figs. Why are we not looking at the 12? Because this is a system that matches each other. Remember, if the conversions are in the same system, we don't worry about them. This one is considered as infinity. It's 1.000000. So we never look at the 1. But the 12, this is an exact. For 1 dozen means exactly 12 of whatever it is. So it's an exact number. We don't pay attention to it. Here, same thing. We're not looking at this. So the only thing that we're looking at is here. And in this case, actually, I'm wrong. This could be because this is a measured number. But because this is 3 and this is 3 sig figs, it doesn't matter anyways. So we have 3 sig figs here. So the conversion factor for the first part was 0.15 pounds per nails. That equals 1 dozen nails. So we needed a conversion and we found it. So when you're doing the conversions, you need a conversion that's going to fit into your problem, but also cancel out the units that you don't want and get you slowly closer to the units that you do need in the end. The conversion factor for the second part was the number of nails in a dozen. So these were 2 conversion factors we were able to use in order to solve our problem. So here's another problem. A certain type of nail weighs 0.5 pounds per dozen. How many nails are contained in 3.5 pounds of nails? So the first thing we need to know is that if you have a dozen nails, which is 12 nails, right? It weighs about half a pound. And then with a dozen, that equals 12 nails. So this is the same problem, but we've just changed the numbers. As you can see, I just plugged in numbers on it. So we start out with 3.5 pounds because we want to get rid of pounds. Pounds is not something that we know. We want to know the number of nails. So we set it up with 1 dozen nails over half a pound. And then we have 1 dozen, and that's under 12 nails. And we set this up right. The units all cancel that we don't want. It ends up with the units that we do want. And this is 84 nails. So these are, now we're starting getting into conversions. So if you have any time of problem with understanding sig fig rules, multiplication and division rules, addition, subtraction rules, using your calculator or scientific notation. Now is a good time to start reviewing it so this doesn't overwhelm you. Do you have to fully understand it? Of course not. You'll probably get better as you do this, but it helps to be able to refer back to some of this stuff or just review it before we start getting into more of the math.